Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Team Liquid's very first StarCraft 2 Invitational Tournament. Oh my god, we're super pumped today because we have a lot of the superhero, legendary top Europeans playing today. So just a brief review of the action that's going to be happening today. We're going to be doing a full 16-man tournament hosted by TeamLiquid.net, and I am your host, Sean Day 9 Plot, doing all the commentary action for today. The first starting rounds will be best of 3 between a whole bunch of, again, the best players in Europe. They'll just go ahead and play single elimination brackets all the way to the finals. We'll be casting as many games as we can get our greedy little hands on today, because who doesn't love StarCraft 2 on a Saturday morning, eh? Just to briefly review what the matches are, in the top bracket we have Straylock versus Horror. Now, Straylock is the incredibly famous Terran player from the Ukraine, who, as you know, has always done incredibly well in WCG tournaments, been incredibly good, pretty much for all time, really. He's just one of the most famous players from Ukraine, and Horror is an incredibly strong German Zerg who has actually been performing very well in a lot of the new StarCraft 2 invite tournaments. So that's pretty cool to see. That's a Terran versus Zerg matchup on the top. Then we have Hey Pro versus Hesu Obs coming up. Hey Pro is a very strong Zerg player, and Hesu Obs is a Protoss who I'm not too familiar with. Night End versus White Raw is Protoss versus Protoss. Also coming up, and White Raw, as many of you know, is just a powerhouse machine, also from Ukraine, has played hundreds and hundreds of games. I think he has almost over 1,000 games logged before the reset. So that's kind of cool that we're actually having a bunch of variety in terms of the matchups. And then we finishing up that top bracket is Insomnia versus Brad OK, and Insomnia is the very famous Warcraft 3 player, and Brad OK, as everyone knows, is the friendly Russian Terran, occasionally plays Zerg as well, who has done very well in the Team Liquid Star Leagues, actually, for StarCraft 1. So in the bottom bracket, I'm going to first say the 3 games I'm not casting, and then we're going to wrap it up with the final one, which I am just joining the game right now and letting them know that we are currently live for the show. So, in the bottom bracket, we have Zion versus Nazgul, which is pretty cool because I've actually gotten the chance to see Nazgul play quite a bit yesterday, and he has some really interesting strategies coming up. Hopefully he's going to be pulling those off. Nazgul was actually playing against Jinro the other day, who's another player in the bottom bracket. It's Nogrim versus Jinro, and Nogrim, I believe, was a 2,500 rated player before the end of the reset. So Jinro is also a 2,300 level Terran, and I was actually his punching bag the other day. I probably played like 20 or 30 games with him, and I won 2. So, but I won it with 2 different races. That sure makes me feel good, right? But I'm very excited to see the way that Jinro is going to play, because I know quite a bit of what he has up his sleeve against Zerg and against Protoss. Not so much against Terran, but he's a very strong all-around player. We've seen him perform very well against Lucifron and a lot of the other top Terrans in the Zotac Cup. And then we also have the little one, who's the only random player, playing against Morrow, who's a very, very famous Terran nowadays. He's been tearing it up a lot with his hyper-aggressive expanding type strategies. And last but not least, we have DeMuslim versus Ret. And Ret, as all of you know, is the StarCraft 1 player from the Netherlands who went to Korea to play on the Eastro Pro team. Extremely well known on Team Liquid, has been streaming his games a lot against another very strong player who might not be as well known in the StarCraft community. It's DeMuslim, who is in MYM. He's a very strong Warcraft 3 player who's moving over to SC2. So right now, we are going to be going straight into that game, Ret versus DeMuslim, coming up on Game 1. Just to briefly review the 7 maps in the series, there's Blistering Sands, Desert Oasis, Scrap Station, Metalopolis, Lost Temple, Kulos Ravine, and I might be forgetting one, but I think that's it. The way that the process works is that it is each player downvotes 1 map at a time, alternating until they only have 3 maps left. So, for instance, I know a lot of players are not practicing on maps like Scrap Station or Blistering Sands. A lot of these 2 versus 2 maps where some cute, weird technical rushes are possible. They get to downvote those. Once we get down to 3 maps, it's just a random choice as to what the order of those is. So Ret is currently just downloading the maps. And I am just going to hang here, sip my coffee, and continue to talk about what's going to be coming up. So again, Ret, I think most people know, played Zerg in StarCraft 1, and also playing Zerg now in StarCraft 2, and DeMuslim is playing Terran, and DeMuslim managed to take down Morrow in the Zotac Cup. I believe it was last weekend, with just some very, very solid play. So in Terran vs. Terran, and I think this will be continuing to be the current trend, but was definitely before the patch, is players early expanding from one barracks and doing these massive Marine SCV pushes, because the SCVs are so strong, and the AI values SCVs over units. So players are doing a lot of aggressive, weird timing stuff, and Morrow really seemed to be one of the pioneers of this one barracks insta-expand strategy with no gas. But DeMuslim, even though he didn't quite have as refined of a build that Morrow had, Morrow pretty much had his straight Marine, occasionally getting Marauders, build down solid, but DeMuslim was getting real creative with some great timing pushes, being very creative with trying to get some tanks early on, teching a little bit more quickly. And even though he went 1-1 of those first 2 games, DeMuslim pulled out this brilliant cheese that took down Morrow in Game 3 of that Zotac cut. So what I think is so interesting about that as an example is it highlights how DeMuslim is willing to play the player. And that's something that you do not see very much in StarCraft 1. Because it's been around for 10, 11, 12 years now, players are comfortable with the idea of, I am going to do a build that he has to have seen before in some way, shape, or form, but I'm going to do it well. I'm going to execute it perfectly. I mean, how many Terrans do you see against Zerg just do the standard one barracks early expand in StarCraft 1 and just try to win with a timing push and some medic Marine vessel in the late game if it gets to that. You know, just nice, solid, straight-up stuff. Players don't try to get too much into the psychology of things, but in StarCraft 2, because players are not that familiar with what the standards are, people haven't really established the fundamental ways of playing each matchup. Players are a lot more comfortable to do sorts of weird, I'm going to play the player type stuff. You know, DeMuslim was doing a lot of hiding barracks and that sort of stuff, and he changed his play greatly between all those 3 games. Morrow pretty much went one barracks early expand in all 3 of those games, but DeMuslim was just changing it up, changing it up, changing it up. It looks like we're having a little bit of lag with the players, so of course I'll continue to talk, which, as you know, one of my favorite things to do, so ain't no problem over here in the Day 9 land. Just briefly want to make sure that my sound quality settings are as I left them. They are. I am so proud of myself for having set that up properly. So let's talk a little bit about Ret going into this first game. So Ret is, once again, a very strong player in StarCraft 1 and has been performing very well in StarCraft 2. I mean, he beat Infernal 4-2 when they were playing in the Liquidation earlier and just had very solid play, had profoundly good timing with his roaches and just getting 2 queens very, 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 very quickly. So what's interesting, though, is I was talking to him on MSN, and he said that it bugs him a little bit that he can't rely purely on his mechanics yet. Like, a lot of times in StarCraft 1, you'd pretty much just do a very predictable build, but you would have such good fundamental play, you'd be able to nail it down so well every single time that it wouldn't be that big of an issue. But here in StarCraft 2, I mean, players don't really know about Mutalisk harass or a lot of sorts of weird harassment. Ret, for the most part, when I watch him play, has just been maxing roaches for the most part, just macroing really hard. I'm briefly going to just double check on what the issues are in this thing. Is there lag? Because we are live right now, and I'm putting a happy face to let them know it's okay and to relax, and that it isn't a big deal. But of course, I typoed my happy face, and I did the underscore caret tilde. I was trying to do a winky face, but now it just looks like his jaw's broken, so no big deal. I do want to note that the map order right now, I didn't know how the vote down process went, but it's it's really interesting map set, actually. It's Desert Oasis, Steppes of War, and Metalopolis. So Desert Oasis, as many of you know, is that weird long map where your mains are kind of close together, but the naturals are at the opposite corners of the screen, and the ramps point away from each other. So, I mean, it scrolls around in a really big... units have to walk in a very long distance to get to the opponent, and there's 2 attack paths. So... already a lot of Terran players are favoring a lot of Reaper openings or even a lot of Reaper mid-games because it becomes so difficult to defend all those disparately placed expansions. And likewise, Zergs are going to be... Zerg players are liking Mutalisks a lot on these sorts of maps. So Desert Oasis, I would perhaps say, is the one that encourages the biggest departures from your standard strategies. Something like Lost Temple, yeah, you'd pretty much early expand and macro up and do whatever your normal plan was. Same, you do the same build on Lost Temple as you would do on Blistering Sands, for example, but you would not want to do it by any means here on Desert Oasis. You have a huge area to defend from Reapers. Your expansion really doesn't even have a choke. It's just in the middle of nowhere. And wow, as it appears that thanks to the reset, Ret has to re-download all the new maps. And he's at 61% right now, so my sincerest apologies, but you'll have to just listen to me talk. But that's okay, plenty of stuff to say. So, continuing on Desert Oasis, there's a lot of weird creative stuff you have to do just because of the structure of how the map works. So, coming right out of the gate, I'd probably say that DeMuslim is going to be at a pretty comfortable advantage. I don't want to say a huge advantage or something like that, but I've seen him do those sorts of weird, strange readjustments in his strategy. And this is a sort of map where adjustments are going to be really important. Piers Ret is still trying to download the map, and he is going to be inviting us into the game. So hey, quitting the game, fantastic. And it looks like we're going to be going up right away. Fantastic. Alright, so Ret is going to be the host, and we have Shawnee here as the rep. And I'm Sean. I don't call myself Shawnee. I'm just a Team Liquid streamer here, but Shawnee from the Team Liquid forums will be the referee for today. So coming right out on Desert Oasis, I do feel like DeMuslim, assuming his creativity is the way it's been, that, you know, we might do some good stuff. I'm just going to briefly set up this match here. We have DeMuslim joining, and we have Shawnee joining. Alright, fantastic. The second map in the series is going to be Steps of War, which, as far as I'm concerned, is the exact opposite of Desert Oasis. Incredibly close positions. A lot of crazy aggression. There's a bunch of weird rushes that you can do. I mean, I was actually, you know, like I said, I was playing a bunch of games against Jinro yesterday, and Jinro just did the most insane stuff to me, and I just couldn't stop it. It was so strong. So this is less for me to just, you know, demonstrate my uncontrollable man love for Frozen Arbor, but instead to note, it's instead important to note that there's a lot of, it makes a lot of your normal builds hard. You have to adjust them. So for instance, a lot of players who like 14 hatch expanding will prefer going for a 15 pool 16 hatch on that map. And oh, thank God, we are coming up right here on game one. This is fantastic. We'll have the chance to talk about Steps of War in just a moment. But for game one, we are going to have Desert Oasis with Ret against DeMuslim. So, oh my God, I'm so excited. Because I'm not going to lie, I mean, as much as I enjoy commentary and all that stuff, I seriously am a top player fanboy. It is so cool to have the front seat of the show, to be able to control the camera and all that jank. Oh my goodness. And of course, two unbelievably strong players, Red, who I've known for a very, very long time. We even played lots of epic games in 2004 and the like, and the game is booting up. And, oh, fantastic, we have some severe lag at the start. Alright, awesome. But we are right into game one. Spawning at the top is Ret as the red Zerg pieces, and then down here at the bottom, we have DeMuslim spawning as the purple Terran. Looks like those colors are a little close to me. Ah, that's pretty good. They definitely saturated the colors properly for the new patch, because let me tell you something. Pink and purple looked identical on this patch. Or on the previous patches. So already we have some pretty nice standard stuff going on by Ret. He is sending his Overlord straight away to his opponent's base. No messing around. You can get this Overlord directly into the opponent's base relatively early on, because this first barracks is going to have a little bit of trouble going down quite so quickly. It appears we have a little bit of lag going on, and I know exactly why that is. There we go. And it looks like he's making a barracks down at the bottom of his ramp. That's a very interesting choice to be doing at this stage of the game. I mean, it not only hides the barracks, but it's going to make Ret feel a little bit suspect as to what exactly is going on. I mean, he's going to be sending his Overlord in here We have the supply depot going down. That looks pretty normal, but if this thing finishes by the time this Overlord gets here, this Overlord might just assume some sort of expansion, might expect the exact opposite, really, of what DeMuslim's doing. That barracks is coming out very early now, and I really think that this is not going to be any Reaper harass. We don't see any refineries going down yet. It looks like he's just getting a very early barracks, so that way he can get a Marine and probably just kill off his opponent's Overlord. If we go back to Ret's base, it looks like Ret doing the build that he loves doing. 15 pool, 16 hatch. Ret was telling me on MSN before these games that he just really likes that straight up standard solid build. And oh, but look at this. There's going to be no Overlord slaying going on. Looks like, oh, I thought that was the Marine. I was like, oh my goodness. But he might be bunker rushing. He might be doing some sort of early aggression, but really this map is pretty much the worst possible map to be doing that on. And it looks like, no, he is going for some Overlord hunting. I mean, look at this rally point. Look at the Spider-Man web that this barracks is making, pointing directly to this spot. Here comes the Marine marching his way in. And oh, there's the Overlord going to try to do some little dodgeruha action. Oh man, look at the Marine trying to spot the Overlord. Goes by the Zelnaga watchtower, gets to see what's up, but unfortunately, Ret has found a beautiful hiding spot for this Overlord over this apparently dead command center. And here we have back in Ret's base. He's putting down a gas now, getting his queen up. There's the 16 hatch that we were talking about earlier on. And you know, there's already a lot of little stuff. Ooh, did you see that? A barracks was, it was trying to tease me with a barracks there. We could see a little silhouette, but of course he backed off a little bit. But there's so much about a player that you can tell already that makes him really good. I mean, a little chasing action, but look at this. Rally point already set for the workers and for units that pop out. Excellent, excellent, excellent job of just thinking ahead. And oh, a factory going down already. Looks like this barracks is going to back off. This attempt at some early Marine aggression didn't really pan out. Again, it doesn't seem like the best map to be trying to sneak a little barracks down early and do some aggression with it. The positions are just so far away, and it looks like Ret sent his drones a little bit too early. No Roach worn down yet. We don't see any drones into the gas either. It looks like Ret just made a whole bunch of Zerglings and is going to scout. Notice we have one Zergling going along the opposite lane, and the rest going down the other one. So that way, you don't want to have all your lings running down and suddenly see a bunch of people coming up. Very smart already. And it looks like DeMuslim's already setting up a solid wall for himself, walling himself in with 2 barracks. Players were favoring walling in with 2 supply depots until Demaga came out with his fast Zergling Baneling pushes that literally demolished the supply depots and won the game almost instantly. Expo done for Ret. Looks like, yes indeed, we have a Roach Warren under construction. That Queen's getting ready to puke those extra larvae all over everywhere. And of course these Zerglings are going to have to back out without too much really going on. This is nice though. This Zergling gets the chance to poke in here and really get a lot of information. Just not seeing that expansion helps Ret know what he can and can't be up against, because he really hasn't had any information until that point. Because, I mean, if we just go over here to Ret and we do the Ret cam, right? Ret has only really seen this barracks here. Has no sense of what's going on in the main. But look, ooh, a starport. Looks like some real fast drop action. Maybe just a medevac rush straight up. Oh, a Viking. Oh, this is so clever. 2 Vikings. This is the Overlord slaying build. Because honestly, what anti-air does Zerg have? No layer in sight, just a queen. Is there another queen at the expansion making? No, there is not. Ret pretty much just going into standard macro mode, going to be trying to build up some Lings and Roaches. There are the 2 Roaches moving down, blocking this for any potential Hellion stuff that goes on, but there really needs to be some sort of anti-air here, and there is absolutely none. This is the sort of build that Ret would really like to do on another map, but on Desert Oasis, it's just not the best choice. And look, with these 2 Vikings out, these are just free Overlords, and note that these Vikings do extra damage against armored units, and of course these poor little Overlords are indeed armored, so flying farms be gone. Sorry. Poor, poor Ret. Warcraft 3 players don't allow flying farms, so he's going to go ahead and put the slang on him with the Savage Vikings. And a look at this Ret moving out right away with his Roaches, realizes that he's in a bind, so he's going to send those over right away. And look at this. The fact that these Vikings saw these Roaches might actually hurt DeMuslim more than it'll help him. DeMuslim might be tempted to pull these Vikings back. Meanwhile, more Marines being added, but oh, look at this. Really not many Marines anywhere. Getting 2 more Vikings, no tank in sight. Jesus, he is going to be able to kill off all these Overlords with these Vikings. He is going to scout around these poor Overlords going at 1 mile an hour to try to escape their inevitable death. But, I mean, even though these overlords are going to fall, there is almost no defense here for DeMuslim. Look at this. Here come the roaches to the front. They're going to be able to take out this barracks. These Marines only have range 5. Can't hit these roaches from this distance away. Will he send SCVs to repair? No, he will not. And look, the roach count outnumbers the Marine count. This barracks is almost getting ready to fall. And if we just go to the Ret cam, Ret is currently trying to deal with all these Vikings moving around and is just ignoring this battle at the front. It looks like he's going to target the second barracks. A lot of intense action. Oh, look, the Vikings dropping to harass and a Hellion. Jesus, this is some really intense harassment going on right here by DeMuslim. And meanwhile, at DeMuslim's front, trying to pull back, there's really no defense. He needs to bring all of these Vikings back, but these small number of roaches look like that they're going to be able to tear all these supply depots down. They're going to be able to get into the front. There's going to be a little bit of a delay trying to get these guys in, because note that these roaches have such short range, they can't quite run up and pick off these Marines. They do have to destroy all these extra structures. The 3 Vikings now returning, landing down. The Marines are up, and it looks like it's going to be these roaches versus these Vikings. Oh my goodness, those Vikings are helping a ton against those roaches. Look at the health on this back roach, just falls so fast. His health is falling precipitously, I dare say. So it appears that DeMuslim is in fact going to be able to deal with this rush effectively. And oh, look at this. Just landing, oh, one of them on the high ground, but you do not get to retreat. I am so sorry. Look at that micro pulling it back up in the air. Look at the weakened ones lifting back up. Genius. Not only does he get the opportunity to kill off overlords, but he can definitely stop these roach rushes. I think it was a little too close, though, for my comfort. Command center going down. Looks like more barracks going down. Trying to build those structures that will allow him to spend that high mineral count. And given this placement, he might just be thinking about taking this gold mineral patch early. Meanwhile, in Zerg's base, 2 geysers up at the expansion. Looks like the Hydralisk Den is out. More roaches were going down, but look at this food differential. 72 food for Ret, and if we look at the unit counting station, he has 50 drones, twice the worker count of DeMuslim. DeMuslim's down at a paltry 50 food. So even though DeMuslim was able to heal off that rush and showed off some fancy tactics with those Vikings, which he has now healed to full health, it appears, though, that it's going to be really difficult for DeMuslim to be able to hold this off effectively. This roach opening was so strong. The roach is able to deal so much damage, and they have so much life early. It doesn't really matter that they're vulnerable to the air. They can just go ahead and bust in there early on. Viking's going to try to do a little bit of creative action here, but really, these overlords are going to be pretty safe. Maybe if he hits them from the south side, because Hydralisks looks like the range upgrade is not yet finished. Still just range 5 against these range 7 Vikings. And look at this creativity. Look at this, is brilliant. Look at this little drop and stop and go, but uh-oh, the Hydralisks are coming up. He's going to need to back those off super quickly. Oh my god, they're following so quickly to those Hydralisks. Target firing one, he goes down. Target firing the other, and all of them are going to lift up. Perhaps trying to take out some of these juicy, juicy overlords in the Hellion, of course, is going to try to run and do a little bit of damage, but it will get denied. Oh, look, more harassment by these Vikings, but all the drones come into the battle, trying to do something, and it looks like they did quite a bit of action. Yes, indeed, repelling all of those Vikings. Look at that, a 10-kill Viking. Don't see that too often. And is he making more? No, he has in fact halted all of the Viking production and is in fact adding on a bunch more barracks. We see some Marauders going down. No stim researched yet. And this expansion is just now landing for DeMuslim, but it looks like Ret almost over doubling him in food. Currently at 100 food, and unfortunately for our friendly neighborhood DeMuslim, he is down at 47 food, so definitely not the best spot to be in. Love the idea behind the Viking harass, but too vulnerable early on to those roaches, and he paid the price. Maybe just a bunker would have been enough. But we have 2 Hellions moving out right now. I'm going to try to spot stuff on the other side of the map. We have these 3 Vikings here. Probably going to try to poke around for some overlords, but Ret's being very, very proactive about keeping his overlords clustered. Not going to move them anywhere where they might be vulnerable. We see that that speed upgrade for the overlords is going down, and look at this. Only 1 guy in both of these geysers, pulling everything off gas. And notice how low his minerals and gas are together. Players make the mistake of just leaving guys in gas by default all game long, and that's the real hallmark of a strong player who knows when to be able to pull guys on and off gas. These 2 geysers have maxed out units in them, max number of drones, and look at this, the Queen is at 43 energy on both locations. He's being very responsible about continuing to add those extra larva. Vikings here now spotting these overlords. We see the special Vikings slide as they manage to kill off those overlords. Looks like he's going to try to poke into the main, but uh-oh, into the Hydralisks. Oh my god, they deal damage so quickly, just managing to snipe off that weak Viking. And down here, looks like we have an increased army here by DeMuslim, but does not quite have the money to afford extra units. He's going 3 barracks without add-on and 1 with a tech lab. And you know, really not that many units here. Does have a planetary fortress, but look at this differential. 30 SCVs to 65, and the creep spewing has begun. These overlords are going to help so much with the mobility all over this base. And look, we have creep tumors extending over here to the left and extending downward. We have the army of Ret moving down south. This expansion's now up. If we go into the DeMuslim cam, DeMuslim is currently just trying to macro up an army. And notice the minimap for DeMuslim has absolutely no sight anywhere. This Viking is pretty much his only step into his opponent's base. And look, we do see a Baneling nest there, so he is getting just a little bit of information. But for the most part, it's going to be relatively tough for DeMuslim to have any clue what's going on. And if we switch over here to the Ret cam, look at the spread of vision. There is just so much vision. Overlord over here on the left, spotting. We have over here tons of overlords spreading everywhere. Could easily go to the Zelnaga watchtower, but frankly, he doesn't need to. He already has so many overlords scouring that area. And look at this. We have 2 evolution chambers down already. It looks like he has the +2 attack already finished, but no armor done. A lot of really nice upgrades to have. And DeMuslim looks like he's moving out with a force that's going to be, a little bit too small. We have 3 medevacs. We have pretty small armies, 16 Marines, 9 Marauders against 30 Roaches and 30 Hydralisks. Huge counterattack here. Big counter push by Ret. Ret realizes the huge advantage he's at. He's at 150 food. DeMuslim's at 90 food. There's going to be almost no way that he can possibly hold off this attack, but he's going to try upgrading. +1 armor, probably going to be getting +2 right after it's done. We have more Marauders coming out, more tech labs, more barracks being thrown down, trying to make sure he can get out as many units as possible, maybe be able to hold this off, but this is just such a huge push coming in right here. It's going to go straight for the planetary fortress, and even with max repair, it's going to be tough. And here comes the planetary fortress. Look at that big blast area damage, and it fires so quickly. And some nice micro by DeMuslim, pulling back, not trying to engage in a battle that's not going to be advantageous for him. So I really like this unit composition. A lot of Hydralisks because they deal a ton of damage, and just a handful of Roaches to take the damage. Roaches really are one of the slowest damage-dealing units for Zerg in the game. I mean, even though that number 20 looks really big, the fire rate is quite slow. It's the Hydralisks that are really dealing the damage, but Roaches just have so much life and 2 armor. They're just these great meat shields. And look, all these Overlords spreading forward now, trying to get in a little bit better of a position, trying to spot absolutely 100% of everything. And oh, look at this. Look at all these Banelings being morphed. And Ret continuing to spam that E key, because remember, in StarCraft 2, E is the hotkey for everything. Spamming E, adding on yet more Banelings. And we have a whole bunch of Roaches and Hydralisks down here at the bottom, getting ready for the big bust. And oh, look at these Banelings coming up. Is his speed research almost done? Look at the timing. And now they turn into these death balls, really. These volleyballs of explosive doom, and even throwing down more creep to get a little bit of extra velocity heading up that ramp. Good positioning by DeMuslim. He's keeping his money low. He's getting that +2 armor. Oh, that's an interesting choice. Most players prefer the range upgrade. The attack upgrade, because all those units are indeed ranged. And look, DeMuslim trying to push down, but oh, it's the worst possible time. Look at everything about to explode here. Oh my god, look at the front row just evaporate to those Banelings. And good game. It appears that we have Ret currently up 1-0 in this series, and that was an incredibly decisive game 1. I mean, that was just not close. I mean, DeMuslim opened up with some very clever looking builds. I love the idea of Vikings in general in on Desert Oasis, but the big issue you have to be concerned about is staying alive with that sort of counter roach push. And as it turns out, he was just not quite aptly prepared for it. And that ended up biting him in the end, right? He did all this great harassment, but Ret, who literally had 0 anti-air, just attacked with 8 roaches, and it did so much damage that afterwards Ret was at 75 food, and his opponent was at 50 food. That's a big differential that early in the game. So right now, we are getting ready to go to the second map, which is Steppes of War, which definitely might favor DeMuslim. This is actually the map that DeMuslim chose against that DeMuslim chose against Morrow in the Zotac Cup, and DeMuslim was able to win with this absolutely beautiful timing push against Morrow. So I don't know if DeMuslim has any sort of discomfort with Desert Oasis. I would have assumed that Ret would have been the slightly more uncomfortable one on that map, but this one, I at least know that DeMuslim really likes this map. So there's a lot of cute choices already that Terran can play around with against Zerg. Perhaps the most notable one is the fact that if you get Reapers early on, like if you go for some sort of 9 barracks, 10 refinery, 11 depot, that allows you to get Reapers out so fast because Tech Labs only require 25 gas in the most recent patch. So those Reapers can come out very quickly. And whether your opponent chooses to early expand or go for some sort of early pool, you're going to get Reapers around his base relatively early on, probably around the time that the Lings are almost done or right when the Lings finish. You can occasionally get him a little bit beforehand and take down 2 drones, but I mean, it's still a serious thing to consider just how strong Reapers are early on. Likewise, there's a lot of Hellion stuff that you can do, and it looks like we're getting ready to go. I'm just going to go ahead and let them know that now that Ret has returned from the restroom just for perhaps a celebratory urination, he is now back and ready to administer his Dutch pain upon DeMuslim. But I mean, a lot of Hellion rushes early on. Any sort of one base early pressure is just fantastic choice on this map. I love one base early pressure on this map. I mean, you can even get the expansion up relatively quickly with the pressure that you can do because it's just so strong. And we have Ret spawning down here as Red Zerg, and once again we have DeMuslim spawning up in the top right as the Purple Terran. And as we note, everyone in Europe is incredibly friendly, and everyone in Europe is always kind and pleased to play with one another and respects each other's victories, unlike American players. So, you know, always good to see the pleasant manner coming in right here. And we have drones usual being made. There's currently some debate as to what's best, 9 drone and then to a 9 overlord, or 10 overlord, or 10 overlord followed by an extractor trick. I personally do the latter because extractors are only 25, so if you start it and cancel it, it really doesn't cost you too much of anything. And we do that overlord almost down, and it looks like DeMuslim is getting messaged. And looks like they want me to turn my sound up. I did indeed. I think we should go ahead and turn up a little bit of the in-game sound. I should have the sound on. Yeah, I got sound on. I'm totally awesome. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and crank this music up so now we can actually hear the explosions happening. I apologize for everyone for having a little bit of faint sound in the start of the game, but that's okay because my soothing, sultry voice was here to make sure everyone was kind and happy. So look at this. Barracks on the bottom of the ramp. Already an interesting choice. We can wall ourselves off with another structure here and keep guys on the high ground. So not only do we have a wall off, but we actually prevent vision. The problem is this is a lot of attack space for Zerglings. Makes it really hard to repair. Very small repair space. Ret going for a very early pool. Look at how early this pool goes down. He's only at 13 food. Clearly, he was listening to me through time and space and heard me talk about Reaper harass because he is getting that pool so quickly. And is a queen going to go down? Yes, indeed. Throwing down some Zerglings. How many Zerglings? 3 sets of Lings. And DeMuslim, honestly, might be trying to favor some kind of bunker rush. We do have this SCV here that's starting to get ready to go into Ret's front and building a bunker, just manner bunkering the opponent. But unfortunately, these Zerglings are almost out. And look at this. Ret's getting to the gold mineral patches. Make sure there's nothing funky going on. But this is going to get shut down immediately. Oh, I really dislike this choice of bunker here. Perhaps it's the fact that it's 100% salvageable as to why he's choosing it. Just wants to make sure that he can block this and then... Yeah, that's genius. Look at this. Salvage, you can get 100% of the minerals. I actually take back my earlier statement. But oh no, look, no wall in the early rush is going to do so much damage. He's pulling back, and these SCVs don't have the beautiful 60 life that they used to. And DeMuslim pulling everything off. Now, we do have Roach Warren going down and the Extractor, as we can see that there's no expansion possibility for Ret. But Ret is just pulling back these Zerglings safely, and I bet you DeMuslim is wishing he had a wall off there. This is going to do so much damage early on. Ooh, some beautiful micro by DeMuslim. Look at that fantastic micro. That was absolutely phenomenal. took those down really without losing much of anything at all. And now prepping to go ahead and do the counter push here, but big question is, what's DeMuslim's follow-up? What does DeMuslim want to do next? We do have Roaches almost up now. The Roach Warren is finished. Ret's being really active still about moving this queen in to block this front area. We have this Overlord retreating, poor thing. He's going as fast as he possibly can. And we have the engineering bay now going down. Nothing too extreme going to be coming out of DeMuslim's base. He's getting a factory. Perhaps building this engineering base so we can expand and get an orbital command, or excuse me, a planetary fortress very quickly. Tech lab going down. Uh-oh, looks like he needs to lift and build that tech lab. Yes, indeed. Whoopsie daisies. Yes, indeed, he needs to make sure he does that, because otherwise he won't be able to get his Marauders out when he wants to be up against these Roaches. And we do see that the barracks, or the bunker, is now down. 2 Roaches out, and looks like Ret has added on a second gas. Do we have anything being upgraded? No. A lot of players like getting Zergling speed to make sure that they have a little bit more flexibility than just Roaches. But this is going to be quite a problem. Might look like the exact same thing that happened in the last game, where we have Ret just going ahead and attacking the front and doing a ton of damage. Oh, the factory was canceled. Ooh, DeMuslim looks like he's been really, really thrown off. 2 more barracks down. Perhaps it's the Zerglings in there that spotted that. Let's actually go to the Ret cam. If we just hold the V button. No, it looks like Ret currently still has no clue what's going on in the base of DeMuslim. He doesn't know that there are 2 barracks here. But he does, in fact, think that he can push up and just take the win right here. Those tech labs are still not up yet. Those Marines are trying to get into a good position, but oh my god, it looks like this barrack can still be hit, but look how quickly it repairs, so might be able to withstand a little bit of pressure. First Marauder coming out, second Marauder looks like it might be coming up. Has enough gas to research Stim. I think that's a really important upgrade to get very early in this sort of tense spot. And in the meantime, we have Ret throwing down an expansion here. Almost done. Notice how he rallies already. Has that set up too. The Queen is here as well. Spawning a Creep Tumor. Evolution Chambers down. Layers now finished. Not researching anything yet for the Roaches, but doing a ton of damage. And oh, the Marauder's out and repels it just in time. This poor Marine spawned out on the wrong side of things, but did a good job of pulling everything back. So DeMuslim now adding on a command center, and it is clearly going to be seen by Ret. So this is huge. Ret knows exactly what his opponent's up to. And oh, building a bunker is going to lose the SCV. Is he going to lose the bunker? No, cancels it just in time. More Marines being made, more Marauders being made. Might go for a very early counter push. Has 3 Marauders. Doesn't look like much, but can do plenty of damage. Adding on yet more Roaches. Very, very smart decision. Sometimes players overreact and try to add on a bunch of Zerglings because they believe that Marauders are the quote-unquote counter to Roaches. Marauders are incredibly good against Roaches, but if you just have too many Roaches, ain't nothing that can, stop it. And look at this. Poor Overlords. Look at Ret. Huge in the negative food. That might make this push just work right here, because Ret now cannot add on any Roaches, bringing everything forward. But look, DeMuslim calmly pulling back. No problem whatsoever. Just doing a little bit of micromanagement here. Oh, 1 Marauder does fall, but a lot of drones dead. Look at all these bones here. Just creating a red carpet for more of the units to stroll on in celebrity style. And oh, some nice micro going on here. The Queen's in the battle, but look, these Marauders were just not expected. And oh my god, Ret just might fall right here to this little counter push. Ret looked like he was in a huge advantage, but there's absolutely nothing that he can do about this push. 38 food to 50 food. DeMuslim very clearly at the advantage right now. But look at this. Just very clear, simple, easy early aggression is a little too hard to deal with if you're powering as hard as Ret. And already look, this +1 upgrades finished. 2 barracks here. The command center done. And this push is still progressing forward. Hydra's up now, but good game, just not quite soon enough. And it appears that we are tied 1-1. Now that's something that I personally did not expect. I would have assumed that Ret was going to be the one who would lose on Desert Oasis, and Ret was going to win on Steps of War. But instead it was the exact opposite. Again, I guess it was the fact that DeMuslim just does have a lot of comfort on that map. I was really worried for him early on with those Roaches, battling down at his barracks. Because in the previous game, that's what ended up losing him the game, right? The fact that Ret just attacked the front, and just killed it. And there really was not that much that DeMuslim could do about it. But instead, in this game, DeMuslim just calmly repaired with an SCV, had beautiful timing, and, you know, held it off no problem. And then when he did this big counter push, there was very little that Ret could do. It was unbelievably strong. So it looks like we are getting ready to do everything in Game 2. Fantastic. We are going right into Game 3. And the last map is Metalopolis, which I think is a fantastic last choice of map, because this map is, not only is it what I would just call a fundamental map, you know, it's about just having good expanding patterns. You have a natural that's kind of open, so there's decent aggression that can go on right at the start of the game, but there's also a little bit of variety. So we have Ret spawning here in the top left as the, I guess it's just the top, as the red Zerg, and DeMuslim here at the right as the purple Terran. Now, notice, this is super important to note, this wall is perhaps the most important part of this map, right here. Because if Ret is trying to do some sort of push, DeMuslim can put Marauders up here and do a ton of damage. Likewise, any sort of Hydralisks up here can get in the way of any sort of push. So you kind of have this weird hugging of the edge and be just very careful with your unit movements, moving right along here over the beautiful Menks statue alone. Yeah, and that's the sort of thing that I really like, that little bit of variety, because, for instance, if Ret was here, look how close these positions are. It's just a straight walk from natural to natural. Looks like DeMuslim, for the first time, is not going to be doing any sort of nutty placement with his barracks. It looks like he's going for relatively early wall-in, but unfortunately for him, Ret manages to spot this right away. I'm going to be very curious as to what Ret's opening is. Again, he does love that 15 pool, 16 hatch opening, but in the last game he went for a very early pool, like a 12 or perhaps even an 11 pool. So I really like the fact that he's experimenting around on the maps. He's already up at 14 food, so probably going to be seeing a pool come down relatively soon. Barracks is down. Any sort of gas coming up? Does not look like it yet, but 13 is around the time when players do throw down the gas. He has enough for it and still is not doing it. Looks like we're just going to see a relatively safe one command center right after his first barracks. And we do have Ret doing his ever-famous 15 hatch opening. Look, we've seen 3 different openings from Ret this game. That's great, or this series. Opened up with a late pool followed by Expo, then opened up with a super early pool, and now he's just straight up early Expoing. I suppose it's the fact that he saw his opponent get this barracks so late, and this is a little interesting. This geyser is very, very, very late. Most players are going to be getting this a lot earlier. Perhaps it has something to do with the timing of this Marine, maybe going to make 2 Marines and then go for a tech lab. I'm not so sure. Perhaps he just wants to get Ret out of his base. We see the orbital command going down, giving him a very strong early economy with those mules. We see the spawning pool going down for Ret. Everything looks pretty standard right now from both players. Real question is, how are they going to follow it up? We don't see a second gas here. Ret's pulling back to this side, so that way when he wants to move forward a little bit like this, he can see that second gas, get a lot of information. SCV is now scouting around, gas going down. Gas is going to be great if he's doing anything from Hydralisks to Roaches. Just an excellent, excellent early choice. He can, I mean, or even Banelings, actually, considering the fact that we, again, saw Demaga do beautiful busts against exactly this sort of wall, and just send the Banelings to this point right here, and all this stuff dies. But it looks like DeMuslim's getting a little overeager here. It looks like there's a bunker rush coming up, and, you know, right before Game 1, Ret actually said, how do you hold off a bunker rush without Lings? I don't know if he was serious or not, because I remember telling him beforehand that bunker rushes should be pretty easy to hold off in this game. But look at this, coming right up. Zerglings are a lot weaker in this game than they were in StarCraft 1, so moving forward, it's so important to be able to kill off these drones. Look, he's using these... It's so important to kill off these SCVs before they get into the bunker. He's trying to kill off this bunker as fast as possible. It does go down, so Ret is going to be relatively safe. I love that technique of targeting the bunker. Way too often players obsess about killing the SCV building the bunker, killing the Marines trying to get into the bunker, rather than just killing the bunker itself, and look how that immediately denied this attack. DeMuslim having to pull everything back and getting a command center and another barracks. So it looks like he was only getting enough gas to perhaps get a tech lab, or perhaps just to throw Ret off. And ooh, looks like a little micro battle took place. Looks like those Zerglings did fall, and if we go to the unit counting station, it looks like we have Ret has 2 Zerglings at this point as well to sort of re-scout what he didn't get the chance to right there. Roach Warren is going down. Really like this build. This is very, very solid. If our opponent does any sort of funky tech early on, we can just go up to his front and kill him with those roaches. So that perhaps is the best way that he's going to try to combat any sort of Banshee or something like that. And if we go to the Ret cam, we don't quite see, we don't know if Ret has spotted this second geyser or not. And if we go to the Muslim cam, Muslim really does not have that much information as to what's going on in his opponent's base. So it looks like he is getting that Tech Lab upgrade. He is getting another barracks, almost certainly adding on some more Marauders. So we see now a relatively fast layer. Second gas is down. No second gas here, but we do have a second queen here at the expansion. And look, that scan not getting a mule, instead going for that very valuable information of what's actually going on. Instead of getting any sort of early spine crawlers, just getting those roaches out to deal with Hellions, getting roaches out to deal with any more sorts of marine antics that could go on. And look at this beautiful timing with that Zergling, knowing everything that's going on. And we have this little Marauder trying to take a few shots at that Zergling to do the finishing blow. And we have an orbital command going down as well, getting yet more super strong economy and other tech labs. It's 3 tech labs? My goodness. That is very, very, very aggressive. And 2 guys in the geyser. Oh my god. You thought that hurt in StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2. For some reason, all players are starting to screw this up. And it's just a weird trend that we've seen happen a lot. Evolution Chamber now down, that the layers finish. Hydralisk Den going down as well. Just getting a very strong Roach-Hydralisk combination. Excellent, excellent mid-game. Hydralisks are one of the strongest units against Terran in the mid-game. Pretty much only tanks demolish them really easily. Tanks and Thors and Hellions, really. Actually, now that I think of it, pretty much all mech just crushes crushes those Hydralisks. And look, that scan's going down. We do have the +1 missile attack going down. No range being upgraded yet for Hydralisks. And if we go to the unit counting station, really no Hydralisks even made yet. Still just roaches. There's the range going down for the Hydralisks. And we see a factory going up as well. Pure Marauder going up for DeMuslim. And this is interesting because he did see Ret go for those roaches early on, and they were a problem that he dealt with a lot in these games. And, you know, in Game 2, he won with just a big Marauder push. And right now, this is such a scary spot to be in, because look at this. 8 Marauders and 7 Marines, and there's only 3 roaches. And, of course, these 2 lings are just being used for scouting. So that's very interesting to note, the fact that it's going to be a little bit tough for Ret if he gets attacked. But that's one thing that's so great about this sort of larva vomit, is that larva pops up and you can suddenly snap forward with a huge amount of units. And oh yes, indeed, going for the gold minerals. What an excellent, excellent opening by Ret, making sure that he has the maximum number of units. Because you can actually get away with triple queen, triple hatch if you take that gold mineral. And already we have that wonderful creep noise that you can never turn off. As those overlords begin to puke all over the ground. And a Baneling nest going up as well. Another excellent addition to the mid-game army for Zerg. The roaches soak up the hits. The Hydralisks do the little bit of extra damage. That's oh so important. And the Banelings just clear out any Marines that were at the front at all. But in fact, there are no Marines that are going down anywhere. Just 3 tech labs, massive numbers of Marauders, and we have these full of Marines. All the Marauders are hanging out here. 1 guy in gas here. Are there still 2 guys in gas here? Yes. And as we know, DeMuslim is hurting for gas. Perhaps the pressure of the tournament sort of getting to him in this spot. And adding on 1 medevac, probably really thinking why his gas is so low. But still has 2 in the gas. Still has 1 in the gas here. Really, really bad spot to be losing that gas. If we look, 74 food for DeMuslim, 90 food for Ret. Look at Ret just pulling ahead, even when nothing's going on. Just very strong, very solid play. We hear some Banelings hatching right here. Oh, fantastic. And if we go back to Ret, look at this. Solid 3 drones in each gas. 3 drones in each gas. Little stuff like that, the extra little bit of mechanics helps tremendously. And do we have 3 in gas yet? Still not 3. I'm going to be checking this all game long. All right, he fixed this geyser. But still, I mean, that's basically like having 1.75 geysers. And, you know, you really want a full 2 geysers worth of stuff. Oh, look at me, I'm such a StarCraft 1 player. You want 4 geysers worth of stuff. And of course, we now have this operational. And look at all these drones that just flooded right in there. And look, the scan. Yes, I do have the gold mineral patches. He needs to scan, but he needs to click on these minerals to make sure that he sees that they just started getting mined from. And look at all these Banelings being researched. What incredible play. And of course, the centrifugal hooks being researched for the Banelings. In other words, the beach ball upgrade. And this push is coming forward, just shooting at this poor little wolf statue. He just wants to hang out. I don't know why he's being so aggressive. But look at this. Beautiful flanking set up by the Banelings. And oh my god, only one medevac. And he even accidentally sucked up a Marauder when he was trying to micro this. He has everything in one control group. Ah, now he's seeing it and he's pulling it back. But he needs to be very careful. Oh, look at that. Oh my god, did his Banelings just kill that statue on accident? Oh my god, that's bad news. But here, just so many units, and now pulling back. He sees the Banelings. He's trying to stim the back up to be able to take him out. Big damage done there to those roaches. Those roaches are falling fast, using the the range advantage of those Marauders to do a little bit of extra damage. 2 more barracks going down. We now have the +2 upgrade getting started right here. And we have more medevacs being made. He's pulling back. He has this expansion done, so we can go down to the bottom left. Another barracks being done. Look at this. Look, so much money, was almost over 1K right there. And is adding on more Marines here, adding on more Marauders. No additional medevacs, still hurting for gas because, let me guess. Yeah, still 2 in the geysers. 3.5 geysers is not so good. But Ret is in a tremendously good situation. He's getting the +2 attack upgrade, continuing to add on those additional Banelings, trying to make sure they don't crash into wolf statues or anything like that. And taking a 4th base, this gradual addition of units and of expansions is just helping him out so much. He's at 133 food. We have DeMuslim here at 113 food. Pretty big army here for DeMuslim, but if we go to the unit counting station, look at Ret. 20 Banelings, 30 Hydralisks, 5 Roaches, and 21 Marauders and 10 Marines. Would like that army to be a little bit bigger, and with all these barracks being thrown down, it's going to help a lot. Planetary Fortress is almost done. And yes, indeed, it's done. And look how smart DeMuslim is, sending his mules to this expansion, making sure he doesn't mine out his main too quickly or something like that. And it looks like we're going to have a 7 barracks play right now for DeMuslim. DeMuslim doesn't quite have the variety that he wants to have. He has pretty much just Marauders right now, and that's going to be a little bit easy for Ret to be able to just deal serious damage with. Remember, these Banelings got a buff. They do 20 damage base. Yeah, sure, they do 35 damage versus light, but just 20, like, you know, area damage against Marauders is a lot of health. So, looking at Ret and what he's going to be transitioning to, he still is only at 1 evolution chamber getting that carapace upgrade. Looks like he is just adding on more units, getting that speed upgrade for the overlords. Do note, though, that if we go to the Ret cam here in his first-person view, Ret really does not have that much vision of the map. He's only just now seeing that expo at the bottom, and of course we see a little Rose Zergling down there. And if we go over here to the DeMuslim cam, DeMuslim has a little bit better of an idea of where his opponent is at. So that is something very important to note. Both players playing relatively fast. 161 food for DeMuslim and 166 food for Ret. And oh my goodness, look at this. What a perfect scan right on the wolf statue, seeing everything that's here. And this is a lot of Hydralisks. This is the standard composition in these mid-games, is Hydra Baneling. And now he's moving forward, coming in with all these units, tons of stim coming up, but these Banelings are all caught in the back, and this is a great concave by DeMuslim, and all of Ret's units are falling so quickly. It looks like these Marauders are doing tons of damage. Another stim coming up. Finally, some Banelings managed to get through, but they're only able to kill off a handful of the front Marauders. And look at this, 113 food for DeMuslim, and up here, 102 food for Ret. Oh, perhaps the choice of that many Hydralisks is not paying off as well as he would have liked, but I mean, against Marauders, you can't make that many Roaches either. It was that concave advantage that DeMuslim exploited. And moving forward yet again, some of these medevacs are getting a little too overeager into the battle, and more Hydralisks coming in, but just following too quickly. So many orange level units, but just not quite enough, trying to send more in. But look, dead broke, trying to macro as best he can, getting a Spire right now, but look at this push, doing tons and tons of damage. You might be able to just bust up here, and then, oh no, look at these reinforcements coming in. Ret is in horrible shape right now. His queen has just fallen, trying to get more Hydralisks in here. This army's slowly getting a little bit smaller. DeMuslim does have that combat shield upgrade, and look at this, 2-2 upgrades. That is huge, breaking into this gold expansion, taking it down. Ret pulling back all these drones, hopefully back to this back expansion where they can regroup a little bit. Infestors coming out now. He's going to need those at this point in the game. The Infestors, I think, were the key piece that was missing from Ret's army that would have been so good to have at that point in the game. And right now, it is just looks like it's curtains for him. And of course, 2 guys in this geyser as well, just keeping up with the theme of things. But look at this macro. Units just pouring out of these barracks, and notice that there's no units queued unnecessarily. There's no barracks that were empty until recently. This one, of course, just finished. That is such good macro by DeMuslim. And of course, StarCraft players like to joke that Warcraft 3 players don't know about macro, but DeMuslim clearly proving that wrong. Some Banelings trying to rush up, stimming, target firing the Baneling. Beautiful job there. What a great fungal growth there. Trying to get these Banelings into the battle. They're almost done. He needs them up so soon. 1 Baneling down, 2nd Baneling up. Both of them get taken out without being able to do anything. And once again, good game, and all Europeans are friendly. So of course they exchange kind, pleasant words. So that is just fantastic to see that level of manner from both players, and it looks like DeMuslim will be advancing on to the next round. I am going to be taking a 5-minute break, 5 to 10 minute break, finding out what round of 8 matches are on, so definitely stick around. I'll just be playing music in the live stream channel until the next matches show up. So yeah, stick around, and we'll be doing round of 8 matches coming up right after this. See you in a bit.